hardest part about this week's assignment and next week's assignment is understanding the differences between the 6 parts of a case brief. If you look at page 78 and 79, it lists the 6 parts for you. The first part is judicial history. The judicial history is essentially how did the case get to the court that's writing the opinion. So if it's a New Mexico Supreme Court case, it probably came from the New Mexico Court of Appeals, and before that from a New Mexico District Court, and maybe even before that from a New Mexico Magistrate Court. Now, you have a case that you need to do a brief on, the Rodella case, for this week's assignment and next week's assignment, that is somewhat more complicated. It came out of the Judicial Standards Commission directly to the Supreme Court. Now, why did that happen that way? Essentially, the Rodella case is a judicial discipline case. It's a bad judge case. So this bad, allegedly, or pretty much for assuredly bad judge, was found to be a problem by the Judicial Standards Commission, and that commission then sent the case on to the New Mexico Supreme Court, who analyzed their result and confirmed that the judge needed to step down. They didn't absolutely affirm the Standards Commission. They simply said, there's enough there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's enough smoke to suggest that this judge needs to no longer be a judge. So that's the procedural history of the Rodella case. There are lots and lots of facts, and that's the second category, facts, in the Rodella case. So you're going to want to look at those facts carefully. The reason why there's so many facts is he's accused in the Supreme Court opinion of essentially 3 situations where he did wrong. One's a DWI case, one's a landlord-tenant matter, and the last one was a domestic violence case where the judge suggested the witness the victim didn't need to show up, despite the fact that she was the complaining witness for the prosecution's case. He essentially said, it doesn't matter if there's a subpoena, you don't need to come to trial. So there are sub-facts, there's all kinds of facts scattered throughout the case, and I'd like you to identify which ones are relevant and which ones are simply sort of extra frosting the court decided to write about. There's issues in the case too, multiple issues, at least 5. And so I want you to issue spot. What are the questions? What's an issue? It's simply the question the court needs to answer to come to a conclusion about the big ideas in the case. So one of the issues in this case are costs. Does Rodella have to pay the Judicial Standards Commission's attorney fees for this matter? Rules are hard. That's the next category. For rules, you're looking for court decisions, statutes, court rules. In the Rodella case, there are lots of court rules that govern a judge's behavior, and Rodella violated a bunch of them, and the court lists those out. There's also precedent that the New Mexico Supreme Court relied on in that case, and so you're going to want to look at that precedent fairly carefully to find the rules the court applied to the facts in the Rodella case. The hardest of the 6 issues for writing a case brief is analysis and reasoning. Why did the court come to the conclusion it came to? In all honesty, if you can find the judicial history, the facts, the issues, the rules, and finally the conclusion or holding, I'm going to be thrilled. The analysis section takes a long time to really understand, but analysis is the reasoning that the court came to when it applied the rules that it relied upon to the facts in the case. And so you can, if you want to give it a shot to summarizing the analysis, please do, but also please don't feel too worried about it if the analysis just seems pretty difficult. It is. The final part of writing a case brief is the conclusion. Lawyers often call this the holding. The conclusion is where the issues, questions are answered, and the court says something like, we find that blah blah blah. We hold that blah blah blah. We conclude that blah blah blah. And this answering of the question asked is what makes law. The judges, the appellate judges, make law when they answer the question and write the question in a published opinion. So those are the pieces of a case brief. Now for This week, your job is simply to read Riddell and identify the rules, issues, um, judicial history, facts, analysis, and holdings. For next week, do the week from Tuesday, which would be September 22nd, I believe. On that class period, you're going to turn in 2 homework assignments. The first one is simply a marked copy of the Riddell case, marking each of the different categories. The second homework assignment, you're going to write a case brief. Writing case briefs is just a critical tool for you to learn. It's how do you read a case and summarize it. You're going to shoot for about a page in length. Any more than that, and it's no longer really brief enough to get the job done. You want it to sort of limit it to a page or two. They have a really nice example of a case brief on page 85. It's the Gideon versus Wainwright case from the U.S. Supreme Court in 1963. I'd like you to use that as your pattern for writing a brief write-up of the Rodella case. Rodella may take more than 1 page because there's so many little issues and facts in Rodella, so 2 pages is probably good, but work hard on it. I'm not going to belabor this lecture. It's really something that you need to read that case and really work on that case. That's the whole focus of trying to understand what is the case saying. I'm available by email to answer questions if you need me to. I'm happy to look at a draft. Remember, it's just a homework assignment, so it's no big deal, but this is the first of the real sort of big writing assignments in the class, and I'd like you to take your hand at it. For this time, don't try to get too creative. Start with judicial history, go to facts, go to issues, rules, analysis, and the conclusion or holding sections, and that should work fine for you. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again face to face. I hope the video lecture works, and I will talk to everyone later.